Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel. This is another installment of the interview series where I try to steal some time from industry experts and other notable characters. Today we're thrilled to speak with the mythical Matt Beest from Dlux Fab. Dlux started making RC parts around 2010 with some parts for the low-C comp crawler. Around 2018, Jason Breakmeyer purchased the company. He's the new owner of Dlux and is also the founder of Iron Rock Off-Road if you want some premium full-scale Jeep parts. In just a few years, Dlux has become the go-to brand for so many innovative products like the Nod 2 and the Portal transmissions, the best cut-to-length drive shafts you can get, and some incredible axles and some of the only superclass parts currently being driven. Matt is truly a customer service beast and a technical ninja. I can't think of many people better at their jobs than Matt. Not only can he answer any question about the hundreds of different products that Dlux currently sells, but he's not afraid to enter the feared dredges of Facebook to answer questions in his spare time. He's also produced some great assembly videos and has the nicest manicured hands. Now, that's attention to detail. Let's check it out. So Matt, thanks for taking the time to chat today. This is going to be great. First off, exactly how many products does Dlux offer?
We have over 350 products on the page right now that you can choose from. Now, that's not before options or colors, so obviously that would grow exponentially, but about 350 products are on there now.
Wow, that is a lot. About how many different vehicles does that support?
We support a lot of axial vehicles. We got a few parts for TRX4s. I think that's an underserved market a little bit because there's so many of those trucks. There's a lot. We support all the axial stuff. We support all of our own rigs. We have our own RTR rigs. So if you wanted a custom rig from a slider all the way to, we send it to you painted, you put your receiver in it and you go, we can do that too.
Nice, nice. Yeah, you guys make some really exotic and fancy, RTR rigs. Someday I always wanted to try the 3-link Sporty. I thought that was a pretty interesting concept to check out Torque Twist.
Well, it is a very interesting concept because it uses counter-rotating front and rear drive shafts. And the idea was with counter-rotating drive shafts and with the panhard bars where they were, that it would combat torque twist. That's kind of a dead idea. We're not really pursuing that anymore. There's a few of them out in the world in the wild. Not many.
Yeah.
So if you see one for sale, you probably should snag it up because there ain't very many of them.
Oh, dang. You don't have one hidden in the back corner of the warehouse, huh?
Well, Jason's got one. Or maybe a couple knowing him. But is he going to sell it? No. He's one of those guys, he has one of everything. So if there's like a truck in the history, the genealogy of RC crawling, he has at least one example.
All right. I'm going to try to find one on eBay later today.
I know a couple guys who are sitting on them.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm obsessed with Torque Twist, and I'd love to see, how that affects things. So tell us about your history in RC. How did you first get involved?
So I started out, I'm thinking I got into it around 07. So probably the year after my son was born. So, me, the wife and kid, I live in a little apartment in a little small town. There's no space for me to work on stuff. I grew up out in the middle of nowhere working on trucks, just being a general hillbilly country boy, running around, working and wrenching on stuff. And in that situation, all I could do was work and pay my bills and take care of my little baby boy. So I didn't have any outlet for that part of me that needed to be fulfilled, right? So I had been looking around for something to tinker on. I went into the hobby store. I saw an AX10 Scorpion, the green one. It was bright green, had a big, almost stadium truck looking body on it, rock lizard tires. And I was like, wait, someone makes this? This is a thing. Because it had real drive shafts and straight axles, just like a real truck. And so I bought that, took it home, and then in digging into that and learning to work on it, I found RC Crawler, the forum, and the whole world opened up. It's like, oh, wait. So then I went backwards from that. I bought TLTs and TXT, all the old stuff, and Wheelie King axles.
Yeah.
And built crawlers out of just whatever I could find locally in town and at the hobby shop. And I couldn't afford much at that point. So, but when knowledge was free. So,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, this is something for a lot of folks out there. If you're into something, if this is what you geek out on with the internet, you can find whatever you want.
Yeah,
Geek
yeah.
on it, read everything you could find, and then you'll know everything there is to know that you can find.
That's what I
You'll
love
get to be
about crawling
successful in that
is,
field.
yeah, this is such a geek sport. I mean, you can go down to every last nut and bolt, and that's what I love about crawling is it's such a intensive nerd geek sport. It's just you can really, really get into it. So you didn't come from buggy racing or anything before that. You started straight with crawlers.
So we had growing up, we had mud trucks, we had tractors, we were out wheeling in the woods, 4-wheelers and stuff. So I'd been around all of it, but at that point, like I said, I'm a young kid. I mean, a young kid, I guess, saying now because I'm old. But I'm in my low 20s. I'm not making much money. I can't afford to, put new tires on the mud truck, let alone, make it what you want it to be. So
Yeah.
that thing got shuffled to the back, and I still have that truck. But, you can go buy a crawler for a couple $100, and then you could tinker with it and learn on it through the week. And then come Friday, you got a little bit left of your check. You can buy a $20 set of links or whatever, or learn to build links. Go buy material and build your own links. I just went from this truck to another one because I just made it fit a whole nother body. And how many trucks can you build out of an AX10 Scorpion or
Yeah.
any of these kits nowadays? You could take that base, transmission, and axles and put it on whatever chassis body you want. So that's what I was doing. I'd find something new and I'd tear it apart, rebuild it, and make it something else. And then I tear it apart, rebuild it, and make it something else over and over.
Yeah, so you're able to scratch that itch to get out in the mud, out in the dirt on a tiny scale, a tiny budget. I can relate to that because where I live, I could never support a full size crawler and trailer it around to drive unless you live in southern Utah or in the south next to Windrock in Tennessee. Where are you going to go crawling with a full size crawler? But the tiny guys take them anywhere.
Yeah, I'm from Indiana, so as far as there's no public land out here, there's very little down south,
Yeah,
not much. So if you want to go wheeling, you're going to a private spot, and you're paying you're paying to do it. By the time your
yeah.
weekend's done, if you take if you take your wife, girlfriend, somebody with you, you're in a $500-$600 weekend before you know it, for fuel, paying to camp, expensive fast.
You could almost buy a deluxe car for that. Almost.
You can get some real cool parts for that.
You get some parts only. Yeah, yeah. So tell us about the history of Dlux. I know Jason Breakmeyer purchased the company a few years ago, and how'd the company get started, and where'd you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so Dlux Fab was started around probably around '05 with Eric Dye. He was the original guy who was the founder of the company. He started out, he was making some free spin hub kits. Some of the OG guys will remember Dlux Fab from the no spin hub kit for a second gen Dodge pickup off of Pirate 4x4 back in the day. So, he had whatever his day job was, but on the side, he'd moonlight and machine and make cool stuff. He liked to 4-wheel in Utah. It's where he was based out of Utah. So he made parts for his big trucks. And then that progressed to around 2010, getting into RC crawlers and going down this rabbit hole we're in. And then he started with a few parts. The first few parts he made were for a Losi comp crawler. That's the furthest history I could find back.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody knows a little further than me, speak up. I don't know everything. But he made some rod end balls with spacers on them, and then he also made chromoly worm gears for the Losi comp crawler. So,
Yeah.
any guys know about worm gears and how that works? It's a lot of friction. So the harder the material, the less friction you can get. But they were a necessary part. And the rest is history. He just started making parts from there on out, knuckles and everything. So fast forward to, I think, 2018, he'd grown the company to bigger than he could handle by himself.
Mm-hmm.
It was, kind of consuming his entire life. And I guess from talking to him, it kind of ran its course and, what he wanted to do. So he put some feelers out there and about selling Dlux Fab. And my buddy jumped on it. I actually had heard the news that was for sale through. I saw Harley scale update. I'm like, hey, wait, hold on, this is for sale. So I reached out to Jason, and he was already working on it. So Jason and crew up there at Iron Rock, they made it. They talked to Eric, worked the deal out. They bought the Dlux Fab, lock, stock, and barrel. They bought everything that was available.
Yeah.
And we've proceeded to, do our best to grow it from there. So that's where I came into the picture for Dlux. Jason needed somebody who was known in the crawler community, that had been around a while, and just because he was relatively new to the community. I'd met him 2 or 3 years prior. I met Jason out at, I think we were Wendover, Utah. I don't know if it's Nationals or whatever we had out there, but Eric Dye put that event on out there in the middle of nowhere. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But that's where I met him. And then, so then Jason bought it in 2018 and his crew. And here we are now. I do the customer service stuff just so, and Jason makes all the cool parts.
Yeah, and Jason had a history of machine shop knowledge and machining full-scale parts, and was the guy who could execute these intricate, tiny machined parts.
Yeah, so Jason, he's an engineer. He's been designing full-size rock crawler suspension for Jeeps and stuff for over 20 years. That was his bread and butter. That's what he loves.
Okay.
So the off-road and the rocks, that stuff's just in his blood. It's in who he is. You couldn't take it out of him. So to progress that and take it from, full scale to tiny scale, that was just another step. And then also with a background in manufacturing and machining, it was almost like a natural fit.
Yeah, cool. So many of these parts have to be CNC'd meticulously and accurately to work and to perform. So
all the intricate design stuff and like, can we make this work? That's the stuff that keeps that dude up at night. This is a guy that he'll have, 20 built trucks, and Nationals is this weekend, and he'll be like, oh, wait, it's Wednesday night. We got to be there Friday. I'm going to build a whole new truck because I got a different idea. And then he'll stay up for 3 nights in a row and build a whole new truck from scratch and be like, well, what happened to the other truck? No, I don't know. I had another idea. So here's a whole new rig. But it's what drives him. So, but that drives the innovation behind it, right? So if you're going to be into something, as I said before, man, obsess, geek, nerd, dive, dig. And before you know it, you could be in the field doing what you want to do.
Yeah, that's great advice. And that's what is awesome about this sport is you can really dive deep and get obsessed. And like any hobby, this one is just super addictive and super fun. And it's great to see so many like-minded people who are just obsessed over every little detail. And they're just tiny toy trucks.
Yeah, but the tiny toy trucks are just a catalyst. They're just the thing that brings all of us like-minded people together. You never know. You walk out there, show up to a comp, and you'll see a guy that like, oh, that dude's straight out of some boardroom. He's way too clean cut to be out here in a pair of boots. And then you see a guy that looks like, bro, you live in a van? Actually, I do. But I got this RC truck that's worth more than this van I live in. I mean, that's the gambit you'll see, but we're all like-minded people, right? And it's about the people. The trucks are just a catalyst.
Yeah. I love that. Cool. So Dlux is super prolific in bringing out new products. How do you decide, what products to add to your lineup and what some of the next products would be?
We come up with new products kind of like just like you and I are talking right here. If you and I are, through this today, if we have an idea or you have an idea, you tell me about it. That makes good sense. Can we make that? Yeah, we can make that. And then within a couple of months, we can turn it into a real product.
Yeah.
So being that we're a smaller company and family owned, we can turn the boat pretty fast. Whereas the larger companies, the bigger the company, metaphorically, the bigger the ship. The bigger the ship, the harder it is to turn. So if you keep it small and keep it kind of streamlined, you can bring new products pretty fast. And we're also open, with our Facebook groups or any of the stuff we do. If you guys got ideas for a cool part that no one makes, and it makes perfect sense to make it, and we can mass produce it, we're in.
All right. Hear that, everybody? Let's get some ideas out there. I got a few ideas. I'll talk to you afterwards.
Sounds good.
So, for people who may be new to the sport, give us a little bit of history of RC crawlers and when did crawlers originally branch off from mainstream trucks and buggies?
So you can trace the basic competition rules and the format we use for comp crawling, you want to call it, whether it's Sorco or WRCCA. You can trace a lot of that back to We Rock, and that's a whole history lesson in itself. If you want to dig into that, there's a podcast called Conversations with Big Rich. That guy, he was one of the original guys doing that on the full size side, and that is a whole story in itself. It's amazing. Dig into it.
Interesting. Okay. For people who might be new, give us an overview of the state of competition. Is it bigger or smaller today? When was the peak? What classes have grown and fallen over the years?
Well, when it started early on, it was, I think the governing body was USRCCA or something like that. And it was mainly comp crawling. I'm going to say comp crawling. No, guys, when I use the comp crawling term, I'm referring to WRCCA or, pro, sporty, mini, super, those classes. But even back then when it started, guys are using TLT axles and they're using transmissions out of a Traxxas Stampede. They lock the diff and they use that for a center transmission. So all this stuff was hand built. So as soon as there was a few parts on the market that the guys could modify and use for that, that's where they started. So then, 10 gates, 40 points, that whole system kind of started there. A lot of those trucks looked pretty scale for what they were in the time, because they were based off of, scale trucks. Because there was the Tamiya Bruiser, like I said, the TLT, MOA kind of started out with the Tamiya Clodbuster. People would use those axles. They would repurpose stuff from the other trucks and make it what they wanted. So that's really what drew me into it. It was more of the built, not bought sentiment.
Okay.
Consider where we are now. You can buy everything. But that's where it started.
Interesting. How many people total in the world today do you think compete in a superclass or own a superclass vehicle? 30, 40?
In the world?
Yeah.
We're probably in the hundreds, I would guess, at least.
Yeah, I love that's such a niche sport. I love it.
The supers, the supers are, the thing is with the supers, they're so awesome, but they're expensive, they're large, and they're pretty capable. Now, making them maneuverable and forcing your will upon them while you're driving it, that's a different thing completely. Some guys are just gloriously amazing at it. I could think of Jimmy, Turbofest. That guy, yeah. Oh Lord, he makes it sing. It's like, are you even trying, bro? It's pretty good, but there's at least a few hundred of them, because I looked at the this morning, the Sudix Championship going on. They have 20 supers out there.
Yeah.
At Worlds last year in Maine, there was probably 30 or 40 of them just out there.
Okay.
So there was.
Is it more popular in Europe?
So Europe does things a little differently. They have plenty of supers, but forgive me for being, a silly American. The size of Europe versus the size of, North America, we'll just say United States and Canada, because as far as the crawler scene goes, we're pretty much all smashed together.
Yeah. Okay.
Just the amount of people here versus there that are into it. There's plenty of comps and competitions going on in Europe. The guys that will see this will be like, hey, what about me? And so we send plenty of parts over there. So there's plenty of rigs over there. I don't know if there's quite as many there as there are here. But as far as classes for the Sudix and then Eurocrawl coming up in October, all those classes sold out and they're full. Pro, mini, sporty, super, and even P-scale. P-scale took off huge in Europe, but it's been kind of slow to engage here because a lot of guys use Sorca around the U.S.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, you mentioned how big supers are. If you're watching them on YouTube, they look pretty small, but when you see them in real life, they're really quite big. The wheels are really big diameter.
Yeah, you're talking like a 7 or 8 inch tire.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I'd love to get one, but I'm not sure if I got room in my stable for one of everything.
I understand.
Cool.
Absolutely.
One super common question that you see all the time online is, hey, what oil weight should I use? And it's not so simple as just putting X oil in, what do you, how do you advise people for approaching what oil weight they should put in their rig?
I approach that from experience. Obviously, I run all the same shocks, you guys are buying from us. So I know what works in the rigs that I'm using that are that style. So if you have a class 2 truck, a lighter class 2 truck, and you're running, short draft techs on it, and it's got, a motor, ESC, and a battery in the chassis, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
On the older 3-hole shocks, 15, 20 weight is going to be a mitt on that. It's because that's the way I drive my truck.
Okay.
With a 4-hole piston, 30 is a good place to start. So it's just a matter of experience, because I can compare the trucks that I drive on a regular basis to the truck the customer is showing me, and I have a ballpark to start with.
Okay. Yeah, that's another thing that's great about crawling is you get to experiment and learn on your own. You can't just look up a table that says, 35 and a half is the exact weight I should have.
Well, you don't learn anything that way. If I give you can email us and I can give you a specific recipe, and I know that recipe works because it's on my truck right over there.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, well, I drove that, I didn't like it. I changed this, this, and this, and now I like it. But that's the way it should be. You should actually learn what works. If we tell you exactly how to make the perfect grilled cheese sandwich, you can make the perfect grilled cheese sandwich, but what did you learn? You didn't learn what doesn't make a good grilled cheese.
Yeah. If you don't like tuning your truck and learning and playing with it, this probably isn't the right sport for you.
Yes, sir. If you don't like having a hobby on your hobby.
Exactly. Outside of Dlux, what is a product that you really admire for being innovative?
So outside of Dlux, I don't want to build it. I really don't want to participate. But those super scale trucks where you get the pictures where it looks like it's a real truck and it can fool you, that is so cool to me. I feel like a giant little kid. Now, am I going to spend 200 hours building that gorgeous truck? No. But damn, is it cool. And if I go out and drive it, I'm going to break it into a million pieces in like 10 minutes. But it is super neat to watch. And then, they get all carried away, those dioramas and with the USTE down in Florida. You watch some of those videos from down there. Those guys get crazy. And it is super cool. Like, you use that for that, and that looks glorious. But I'm not going to put the kind of effort into making it look that pretty because I'm just going to smash it.
Hey, I can respect this entirely. I'm constantly sending videos to my daughter saying, is this real or tiny? They're super convincing, a lot of those videos. Yeah, that's a great answer.
It's a lot of work, but man, is it cool.
Oh yeah, and they overdub like different sound to make it sound like a real rig. Yeah, I love those videos.
It'll pull me in. I like guys taking something that's totally not designed for what it is and then using it for something totally different. So if a guy has harebrained ideas, that's what I like. I was working with a customer the other day. He's putting portals on. I'm like, those axles? Hey, man, I want to see pictures. I love harebrained ideas. So
that's kind of how 3D printed tire inserts came about. Somebody had a harebrained idea, printed it worked, and you see a lot of those now as an alternative to foams. Cool. So what's the dumbest question you've ever heard as a customer service dude?
The dumbest.
You got to have dumb ones every day.
Well, not every day. Well, it happens. But how do you...
And they're innocent questions, everybody's learning.
But
you
don't know, you don't know, right? So ignorance is not knowing. It's stupid is doing it wrong when you know better.
I like that.
The dumbest question. Will this fit my slash?
Perfect.
That answer goes way back.
Love it. So are Facebook threads currently the best place for someone to go for crawler information, or are there other forums that are perhaps better?
Depends on where you are and what you're asking. Usually the bigger the page. I mean, I'm not trying to poop on anybody. Usually, a lot of times these larger pages have so much stuff on there, and it's non-curated information, right? So it's like Wikipedia. They get on there, they ask a question, they'll get 100 different answers to the same question, and out of those 100, 20 of them are decent information.
Yeah,
so
that's
obviously everyone with a grain of salt. Depending on the group you're in, that's a big part of it.
Okay.
Some of these groups are 10, 15, 20,000 members, and it's just bad info after bad info. And that's kind of like we stated earlier, talking about the forums. The forums were a great resource because you could go back and refer to it. You could search for a certain term, like say torque twist. You're trying to fight that in your truck, and you could go down the rabbit hole of 100 threads that have already discussed it and gotten into all of everything you can find to talk about it. So wrap your head around it and understand it. Now, if we ask a question about that and, say the LCG page on Facebook, that'll get buried in an hour. You can search for it, but there's 87,000 results. You hope you get some good information, but it's not all great.
Yeah. And some of those Facebook threads are mean. I mean, they don't like questions. Every question is a stupid question, and you're an idiot. So,
so there's it is the internet, guys. We all know it's the internet. You need to have a little bit of a thicker skin on the internet, and you're going to have some guys that are going to be like, "Search noob." And to a degree, if you're a noob, you may need to hear "search noob." They don't have to be mean about it, but like, hey guys, we've discussed this 100 times before. Go look. But some folks are just out there looking for a thrill, being a keyword warrior. But at some point, you could ban them all. But a lot of those old, salty, grumpy person that says "search noob," if you actually engage that person in conversation, how much knowledge do they have to offer? A lot of times, it's a lot.
Yeah.
If you walk into the bar and or the bar or the restaurant, and there's a couple of old guys sitting in the corner, you probably should go and engage those guys in conversation because you're going to learn something. You might hear a lot of opinions that might irk you, might rattle your cage, but you're not going to walk out of there not learning something new from that grizzled old veteran that doesn't want to speak or the one who wants to bark at you.
Yeah. Hey, that's a great analogy. I love that. All right. Last 3 questions. Everybody gets the same ones. 1.9 or 2.2?
2.2.
All right. I like that. What was your first concert?
X Fest in Indianapolis, Shinedown, Rob Zombie, and then Godsmack. We actually crawled under the fence to go to that. We couldn't get tickets, so we ran through the woods, crawled underneath the fence, hid behind the porta john, got past security. We saw those 3 bands for free, and it was epic.
Nice. Somehow that seems exactly on brand for you. I love it.
It was. We didn't have no money, but we were going to try to do it anyway. So we ended up going to that concert. Cost us $10 in gas.
Nice. What year was that?
Ooh, early 2000s.
All right.
02, 01, somewhere in there. You probably look up that festival.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
We were cut the ribbons from the brambles and stuff, but it was a good time. Worth every scratch.
Nice. And last question, how many roller coasters have you ridden in your lifetime?
How many would be? I rode all of them that were at Kings Island, down by Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I rode all of them that were at Kentucky Kingdom. And then I rode all of them that were at Busch Gardens in Virginia, whatever that number would be.
Nice. That's a good chunk.
Everything that was there, we were getting into it. The last one I rode, there's another place called Holiday World down in Santa Claus, Indiana. It's a smaller amusement park, but the last couple I rode, I'm either too old or too big or a combination of the two. Because the last couple, you get on it and it just beats you to death and ruins your whole day. So I must be too old.
I think it's too old. I went through the same thing. I got to a point where, wow, I can barely do this anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm 6'3", 300. I'm a big dude. So it get tucked in those little carts. There's not a lot of room for you to bang around. If you have some room to kind of get shuffled around and not hurt on every little move, it's fine. But once your knees are against the front and your hips are planted against the back of it, there's no wiggle room. So every bump hurts.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, Matt, it was super great to spend this time. I know you got questions to answer and customer service to work on, so thanks for making a window for us. It's great, and I hope the viewers will enjoy some insight into Dlux. So thanks a ton.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. It's been good. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you online, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.